Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, the 9th of August, 2022. And yet again, I do not know how long this video is going to take or what I'm going to say, really, but I do have notes again, just like from a lot of research that I've been doing again, and stuff that I've even forgot to mention in other videos or just didn't get around to, and why I think that if I was to be interviewed by some people, then it would just like make things a lot easier. But I mean, we've got so many freaking, I don't want to call them sellouts because I understand where they're coming from. Because like on these platforms, you get heavily censored, like especially now. Anyone that thinks that Elon Musk is the answer for Twitter, like he is one of these like a cult, hidden like I guess like he's part of like those organizations, the same like Freemason type, Luciferian Rosicrucian types as George Washington was, Buzz Aldrin, Charles Darwin, Pythagoras, Aristotle, and Justin Trudeau and Biden and Obama and so many others. Like I like the list goes on. Like a lot of like heads of NASA. In fact, yeah, even NASA was created to be like a mass propaganda machine for the elites, or the controllers, whatever you want to call them. But there's a lot of interesting names out there. But like the same people who lied about this like globe Earth, which scientifically makes no sense, and it's theory upon theory that is all based on faith that they're using to keep us stuck and divided and mislead us. And so again, like Freemasons and people from like the same universities or education systems, or areas of the world, there's no coincidences to that. So even Galileo and Copernicus and all these other people that we hear about, did they exist? Did they exist? Did they not? There's a lot of theories that would suggest that even if they did, again, that they're part of these groups, because in any of the accounts or the lists that are made or created or shared, it would lead us to believe these things, right? And so, like even the calendar, right, being that the cycle that we're in follows a 13-month like rotation, or whatever you want to call it, schedule of 28 days, right? And so and then just changing that too, and then the time zones, because we're supposed to be on a 24-hour clock, and we're not, right? And so again, these are all just intentional things that they've put in place too, in order to keep us confused and distracted, right? And so like, and then again, the more elite you become, or the more specialized you become in various different departments, institutions, or organizations, like the less you're seeing like the very obvious facts about the reality of Earth being this flat multi-dimensional holographic reality, and how we're being duped and they're laughing about it too, and it's because of these resets and stuff like that that's been going on since for a very, very long time. There's even calendar systems out there that are millions of years old, in like places like India and China, and then other places where it's like where the world is like less, like there's like we've lived like shorter lives, and like there's shorter history, and that apparently the like what we thought was like the 1900s, and the 1800s and like all that other stuff, like apparently it was the 800s, and instead of like a one, it was an I or an L. And a lot of the different coins and texts that I look at, and do the comparisons, they are L's or I's, right? So this is 1,000 years of history that was created, and to mislead us, right? Once maybe accidents were realized, they were made, after future generations or whatever, maybe they realized that if they unpacked and told the truth about unpacked that fact, or told the truth about those facts, then they would have to tell the truth about so many other things. And so what do they keep doing? They're just making more lies, right? And so this is why, like the House of Cards, if we can discuss the flat Earth, or like the fact that like the moon landings were fake very clearly, and that space is not what we are being told it is, and how the planets are luminaries and not what we are also told what they are, and so many other things, then we can get beyond everything that's going on and what may or may not be coming on in the future. Because I'm getting haters, I'm getting people that are blocking me that I would love to go on their podcasts and be interviewed, like Lex Fridman, for example, and so he brings on, shills, and so does Joe Rogan and stuff like that, and they also bring on really, really good guests, but a lot of the stuff that I look at too, it's very informative, but there's also a lot of misleading information in there, and I just want to go into my notes to see if so Andrew Bustamante was on the Lex Fridman podcast yesterday, and one of my friends shared like the link to me, and I always look at what people send me because it's interesting no matter what. No matter what the title is or who blocked me or not, right? Because Lex Fridman, I'm blocked on Instagram, and it's only after I started talking about like the Russia-Ukraine war type situation, and how it's a lot more convoluted than we're being led to believe, and how there's a lot of misinformation that was being shown, especially in the beginning, and how even people within their own government in Ukraine, they were fired. I've already talked about this and gave names. I totally forget who the names were now, but because they were lying about things that were going on, and there were staged events and planned events. And I'm not saying that there's like not atrocities going on. There are. It's on both sides, and it's both sides also, unfortunately, committing literal crimes against humanity that make me lose my freaking mind every single day, because I'm on Signal, I'm on Telegram, I'm on all these other secure means. Because it's part of my work, right? This is, like I've said this before coming out more with like a lot of this information that needs to come out. I worked with all levels of government and stuff like that too, and I still talk with many of them on a regular basis. But I'm now getting more and more segregated and isolated because what I'm saying, like, just people don't want to wrap their heads around it. Some people are slowly starting to, but like the people that are in like key areas and institutions and organizations, they're still like not wanting to look at any of the stuff that I gave them. So this is why I would love to go for coffee or something like that and discuss, and then just share a lot of this information, because it really, really matters. Because even with the moon, I could go on so many tangents with like how like they've admitted that it was staged and planned, and how it was just like above, it was above us, but it was not beyond our atmosphere, because we cannot get beyond this firmament or dome, whatever this is. And there's so many more independent tests and research being done where these rockets are going and getting to like 73 kilometers and then splunk or plunk or whatever you want to call it. Like it sounds like it's hitting some kind of like a viscous liquid like fluid, and then goes back down to Earth in almost exactly the same place that it went. And so that's another thing with flat Earth too, that makes no sense on a globe Earth, right? So like even with cannonballs, when you shoot them straight up in the air, they come back down, and so it would be west, right, or land more west. Coriolis effect, there's no snipers that I know that have factored that in. I have shot long range, like missiles, anti-tank missiles. I've shot from like light armored vehicles, like mortars, Carl Gustavs, Eric's, like you name it, like all types of sniper rifles, and personal and through my 15 years in the infantry and then teaching, I'm an advanced firearms instructor as well, and advanced driving, all that stuff, and advanced interview and interrogation techniques. I've done contact after capture at the high levels with the special forces. I've done courses where it's immersive surveillance acquisition training, where you're like in so many different areas and you have to get out of like either handcuffs or ropes or you name it, and like kidnap scenarios I've been in, where I've been like sandbags over my head and thrown in trunks of vehicles and driven like off in like the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night, and you have to find ways of getting out of these things. And I actually, on the course that I did, I was the team leader. I won't say where and what exactly we were doing, but I was a team leader because I was the senior ranking member in that group with the special forces. But and I was like one of the first ones to get out of where I was, like where I was, and find my way back. It blew their minds. Anyway, all interesting things. And I've been tortured for a few days as well too, and deprived of food and water and all those things, and torture positions, and these are all things I don't know, I would love to talk to people about, because they like people, like even gematria stuff, there's people that they're so good with what they do, but what they're doing is they're taking mainstream media events and they are saying like, oh yeah, this is why it makes sense because of these dates and because of these dates and because of these numbers and stuff like that. And I'm like, this is all cool. And sometimes they do try to make like predictive events based on like key holidays and major events, and I do the same thing. But I've also been like now doing these whiteboards for the last little while, like over a year now, and sharing this with like people in my different government groups, and it's been scarily accurate. And I can share this stuff on my social media too, but this is stuff that I would like to have like closed door conversations with with people about, and do the more like assessments in more detail, and why I've come to my conclusions and all that other stuff too, because I do use gematria or gematria, whatever you want to call it, as well in my predictions, and I look at like a sacred numerology, and I look at like the planet, like the not the planets. I look at the like astrology and astronomy and the constellations and like the different seasons and eclipses and stuff like that. And so yeah, I do factor in a lot of things. And so even with like before the convoy came, for example, I said that it was not who we thought it was that was planning it and staging it. I let people know about the different roles and scenarios that were going to possibly be conducted, because rehearsals are always done, and like these like different crisis or riot actors, they go all over the world and do these things in various different degrees and different staged like crisis, events like war and the border stuff and Black Lives Matter and Antifa, and like all of these things are planned by people within the CIA and FBI and stuff like that too. And that's why like Lex Fridman will have someone on from there when these people also like enable and support like human trafficking and drugs crimes and so many other things. But you won't bring me on who has like top secret government clearance, who's a veteran, who has commander's commendation for actions overseas, in major battle group operations. Like I've lost multiple people I've loved, like not only in battle and carried medals and berets and multiple coffins like throughout Canada and even overseas, like during ramp ceremonies, but then like asked to go in the special forces because my skill sets, and like usually you have to go through like these big processes, and I still had to go through the selection process, but like to be asked was it was overwhelming for me. I was just like, me? Like, are you sure? Because I'm not the smartest person. But I try, and I actually did really well, and still have like amazing friends from there. So anyway, but and so I have that background too, right? And then even within like the brigade headquarters, like I was managing like 17 different reserves units as the G3 operations officer, and I have so many examples of why people like maybe like put me on so I could talk to you about this stuff. And so the convoy stuff, and then I even said in that in early January about the Russian-Ukraine war likely going to tip off because of NATO's involvement and things that were going on with Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, and like the labs, the bio labs, and the money laundering and all that stuff that goes on there that's like blatantly obvious, and how like there's like a lot of resources in Russia that can be monopolized, like so many different ones, and and now they're making alliances with Turkey and China and Saudi Arabia and Brazil and Mexico and so many other countries, because they're looking at us like we are not in control of anything in our society. They think that we are lazy. They think that we are, fat and gluttonous, like all the seven sins. And not seven, whatever, however many sins there are. They think that we're doing them. And that we have a weak military. They think that we have weak leaders that are uneducated because of what they say out in the like on social media platforms and stuff like that, or in their cabinet hearings and meetings. Like they don't know what they're talking about a lot of the times. And I know that a lot of them are coming from a good place. But like Marco Mendoncini, like I would love to talk with him, because he's been so wrong so many times, where he's calling people like he's vilifying groups. And making up groups, by the way, but also then vilifying these fake ass groups that he's like that he's created in his head, like Diagolon, for example, a joke country that he believed was a real country and thought was going to invade Canada, like ridiculous people, and then lying too about like who conducted like different like criminal activities when the convoy operations were going on in the area, and not who you think they would be, right? And there's just so much misinformation on different mainstream media outlets, and we need to stop it, right? And so like if you're doing this and you think that you're justified because you're just a speaker, then you're wrong. Like you can't just obey misleading orders when it's actually what is causing the harm and death of your own, citizens in society, right? Like, you want to inform them of the news and give them the actual news. And I try to do contracts with Global Affairs Canada, global, hilarious name, and give them like some data that would make them reconsider a lot of different things. And I've done training with them for their Standing Rapid Deployment Team courses. I was the coordinator of this course for a few years, and built up the package from someone that was also really amazing, that like had a really good package. And then I also created my own course package. So it's called Hostile Environment Awareness Training, and it adds in so many different things into it that I would love to teach, like even like the media, for example, or cabinet members, so that they can get beyond like the misinformation train and not look at the media for your freaking updates. Because like even the chief of police and like and so many people have admitted that they looked at the news for their updates on current events. And like every time I hear that, I'm like, oh my god, what? Like and then I'm giving these people whiteboards saying like, this is gonna happen this month, this is gonna happen this month, and like then there's gonna be, and even the length of time of the convoy operations, I said it was gonna be two to 3 weeks. It's even on my board. I did not change it. I said there was going to be issues coming up before the fall with Taiwan and China. Look what's happening. Again, this is not me being like an amazing freaking psychic or anything like that. This is just trends. I said there's possibly going to be an election in the fall here in Canada, especially, and some kind of like a vote of non-confidence with JT, and some kind of like a conservative element taking over, and that might happen. I don't know, but again, these are just like I'm open and willing to make predictions based on like my own like experience and patterns of recognition and behavior trends and stuff like that, and see what lands and what doesn't. And I don't care if I'm wrong. It's just all interesting stuff. But so far, even with like when new variants come out or new viruses come out, it's always around the same time when they've pushed jabs on people for this other thing that I don't want to like get this video removed from saying, but it's covering injuries. And that's what we're doing, right? We're coming up with all these different excuses to give people like false beliefs that their sicknesses or their whatever is due to something completely unrelated to like what they have taken that is still under emergency use. And all the trials that have been done are not good. And I can share that data with people, but it's alarming that this is something that I also said that was coming down the pipe, because they were saying it for years, and why I went and joined the mefloquine court case going against the government, against pushing anti-malarial drugs on people, on our military, that caused a lot of harm, and no benefits. Benefits to like the elite controllers, whatever you want to call them, because it they need a Lamborghini, right? And they don't care, because they think that if we are not going to like look beyond our education systems and our mainstream media and our government and our own parents and families and colleagues and everything else, then like they're like, oh, then you deserve it. But after what I just said, you make it literally impossible for people to get beyond your narrative because of how manipulated we are, I guess. And it's unfortunate, because like when I see people like Neil deGrasse Tyson and Elon Musk and Joe Biden and Barack Obama and Bill Gates and George Soros and Klaus Schwab and Harari and so many others that are misleading us, it's like intentionally and harming us in the process, and making us like believe that we're just these like three-dimensional like bodies, avatars, whatever you want to call it, meat suits, and that we have nothing beyond that. Like which is ridiculous to me. Like we do have souls. Like we do. Like we are like in this simulated environment, right? Like we are like experiencing like this multidimensional plane through like our central nervous system, but based on like our higher essence being beyond this environment, beyond this plane. Anyway, it's hard to explain that stuff, and so that's why I add links sometimes to some of my videos. So I've already talked about how even like Joe Rogan and Russell Brand, and I expected that they would have more people on, I guess, like Eric Dubé or so many others, like even me, and discuss why we discuss flat Earth, or discuss so many different things. I could go on a list about like dinosaurs or about moon, about space, about planets, about even ancient history and how like even the ancient infrastructure we're being told they're like built in the 1800s or 1900s, and that is not true at all. And there's so many accounts on ancient maps and ancient like journals and different accounts from people of the time and photos and murals made and stuff like that. It's all in the art. You can't hide shit. And just proves that like these things were like were even old at the time that people were coming back on like we're claiming them. That's why I always say like reclaiming things. So like Parliament, like that library, like all those big amazing stone buildings here, like these are all like I don't know how old, but they definitely predate what we've been told, and they were not owned by who we were told they were owned by, and they were meant for different purposes too, right? And so like I like think this definitely has something to do with like frequency, vibration, sound, like power sources, especially being by the water areas that they are around and or were around until they exploited the resources too much and like destroyed the soil. But anyway, the horizon. Oh yeah, okay. So like so points about the flat Earth. So challenging the heliocentric model, which is only in the last several hundred years, right? Where it really kicked off like 2,500 years ago or whatever with Pythagoras, but then it was like Copernicus or whatever after that, like in the last several hundred years, that brought it up again. Eric Dubé, like go online because I don't want to take away from his work or make this seem like I'm the one that is coming up with this like earth-shattering news because it's first of all it's not new. Like for thousands of years, this is what people from ancient times shared and taught. And that even during the time of like these Freemasons or Rosicrucianists or whatever you want to call them, these people came and tried to show these theories and these research papers on like their fake ass theories. People were trying even during their time to tell them that they were nuts, you know what I mean, and like show the actual data, and it was getting dismissed, and people were getting censored and or killed or banished and all these or jailed. So many different things, are burned at the stake, or you know, and so that's how they control, right? And then people don't want to question it anymore because they're terrified. They're seeing like people on posts, like you know what I mean, like sliding down, and they're like, yeah, you know what, maybe the Earth is a globe. Yeah, I'm cool with that. If that means that doesn't happen to me, I don't want it. So cool. But like even like when you go like the higher up you go, and people like try to refute that with me too, and I'm just like, okay, but hear me out. I'm telling you that I've been in helicopters. I've been like outside of helicopters with guns, you know what I mean? I'm like looking around and navigating and stuff like that. And like the horizon, I've never seen any curvature beyond where we're technically supposed to. Like the helicopters never had to like dip down in order to like account for the curve, you know what I mean, as it spins. Like keep on doing this. That's a good explanation of it. When planes travel, you know, they whether they go east or west, it's around the same exact time, you know what I mean, with maybe like a couple minutes variation based on like wind because of like whatever these toroidal fields are, how they're impacting us, and then also possibly with like the rotation of the sun and the moon, also like impacting like winds, just again like varying only within minutes, right, when there should be hours of variation, or just like go up, you know, in a hot air balloon, and then like the world spins around you, and then you just like go down like once you're at the country, you know what I mean, that you want to be at. And they make excuses for that too, right? And like I'm not moving, but they say that I'm moving and that gravity's pulling me, but it's not impacting like flies and ladybugs and clouds, and it doesn't make sense. And then seeing beyond what we're being given for the like the science, the mathematics, for like when you see beyond different objects at distances and objects that are the same height, beyond 6 to 8 miles or whatever, like 13, you know, beyond even 60 miles, people are seeing objects that should be impossible to see, like way beyond impossible to see, and seeing them. And so this is only possible on a flat Earth. All of these things that I mentioned are only possible on a flat Earth. Even flight paths that we do and have done, even sea paths that we did in ancient times, it only makes sense on a flat Earth plane. And anyone that just tried to circumnavigate the Antarctic or the world, or what do you want to call it, they, you know, it's like, I think they made it. It takes 3 to 4 years, and it's like 69,000 miles that people have gone traversed, like trying to like get beyond like the wall in Antarctica, and there's several accounts of this, like for people that have been allowed or approved to do this, because again, like I've said this in videos before too, they're like the Antarctic and the North Pole, they are heavily guarded by multiple government organizations, and it's to cover up this stuff. And this whole like magnetic thing too, there's possibly like some kind of like a magnetic pole or mountain, Mount Erebus or Mount Mu or whatever you want to call it, in the middle of the earth, but that may be like the center of this earth plane or whatever you want to call it. But there's also possibly, based on different like sundials and like different like other objects I've seen from like more ancient times, like we could possibly also be like the north, the center of this could possibly be more northwest than we believe. So let me just do a really terrible circle within a circle, and then okay, so this may be being like the entire plane, this being what we're shown, and then this being what is possibly hidden from us, and then the opposite, because like this is like the mirror image or whatever that you're being seen. So like the northwest, this looks like the northeast when you look at it from the mirror, from the camera. Anyway, so and you could be possibly access it from Greenland, like one of these continents or whatever out of the 4 that surround this mountain, or maybe through Eureka or Alert Canada. But I don't think there's like a land passage from Canada. There might possibly be one from Greenland, but like we're not allowed to see this stuff because we'll get murdered from our own government. Oh, and gouvernemente not only means like governing the people, but it's also mind control. Monte meaning mine, mind, and govern meaning govern or control. So mind control. And yeah, so interesting when you look at entomology and how it relates to so many different things. I've talked about rockets and balloons. I've talked about curvature and how even wind turbines in the ocean and platforms in the ocean that are like similar heights but like further away, they're seen like you see like it's equal height, right? And so and the reason why we don't see things beyond a certain period of time has nothing to do with curvature and everything to do with the vanishing point, right? And so like even with light posts, it looks almost like you're doing like a triangle, you know, like if you want to make it realistic, looking like you're traveling the distance, and it's just because of that, like our eyes can only see like at certain distances, right? Like we are the ones that are limiting our view, and that's why when you get higher technology out, you can see and zoom in and stuff like that, you see that the earth is flat. The Challenger, people saw that live and they thought that people died in that, and that was very, very devastating. My mother even remembers that, and when I attempted to tell her that they were alive and well, she took it pretty well, but like, I mean, of course there was resistance, but like then when I share information that you see pictures of them alive and well now, like several of them, not all of them, but most of them, 7 or 8 of them at least, and teachers and doctors and lawyers or whatever in different areas of the U.S. And their excuse is that they are twins and that they're not exactly so, which is a lie, right? And so so the key thing with that as well is like there's no records in any hospitals of the parents having twins. No one that they've talked to about their childhoods ever remember their being twins, and none of the twins went to the funerals of any of the people either, right? And so like none of the twins, like they were all having these like issues or whatever, these quarrels. Like come on, like this is like a lie, and they justify saying like, oh, we hire all twins because we want to make comparative assessments based on the physiology, anatomy of people when they're in space and when they're not. But again, this is all made up stuff because we haven't been beyond the dome, right? So the stuff they do is high up in like different aircrafts above, but like a lot of the stuff is also filmed below, underwater. And more people are coming out with that too. So we're fighting our own, our family members and our colleagues, and like on YouTube and stuff like that. Like we're being sellouts, and like this big information is literally what needs to be relayed to everyone so that we can understand why we're still being lied to, and why it's so easy to understand why we're being lied to about everything else, right? Like these therapeutics not being like causing more harm than good, right? Like it's more easily understandable that, you know, that it's better to understand that they're lying about that when you understand everything else they've lied about, right? And this whole thing with like the with this possible planned like UFO invasion or whatever we want to call it that may or may not come out within the next year. Like this is all stuff too. Like the seeds have been sown for decades with these mind control people, elitists, through mainstream media, through like the government documents being leaked and classified stuff, and like duping their own people into thinking that humans of different design structures are alien when they're not. They're just like from different environments or different like areas within this plane, this multidimensional simulation. And like beyond what we see too, right? And so it's just it'd be interesting to talk about this stuff. But I talked about the fact that we've like circumnavigating, it takes 69,000 miles over 3 years, and so this leads me to also believe that there's some kind of like a like the Antarctica is, we're being lied to about it, and even the maps that were being shown on Google Earth, there's hidden areas. There's covered up areas. It's and they make it very obvious for people like me who travel a lot, or who can like verify with other people or read old accounts of old journals and stuff like that, and try to like decipher which ones are intentionally misleading and then the ones that are not. Because even I've read so many books like like Albert Pike and Rudolf Steiner and Manly P. Hall and so many, you name it, like and so many different physicists and the list goes on, and even they are leading me to believe that they're also part of like this occult organization, because they're giving half truths. They're admitting some things sometimes, and then they're also misleading us on other things. And so like this is what I mean, where like it takes like a lot in order to be able to like decipher, even when people that you believe and trust, to like know if and when they're lying. And I'm good at that because of trauma throughout my life. Because I'm trying to like add in more personal stories in this, but like even when I was an infantry officer, for example, I've been stalked, I've been harassed, I've been raped, I've had to move like multiple times, like throughout my entire life, like 10-15 times within like that period, and that's confirmed. And like scary events happen, and even during war time, right? Like my own targeting me because we're away for extended periods of time, and when you lose people, or when you're part of it, like a group that like where you're always like thinking beyond yourself, of service, and like never getting anything back in return, then like it muddies the waters and stuff like that, and then sometimes too, like it's really hard for people to control themselves, right? When there's temptation. And so I'm not excusing any of these things. I'm just saying like I understand during certain times and in certain circumstances, I can't expect things to be easy, right? Because life is certainly not easy. But even talking about space being a closed system, it's not. Like that's also an impossibility. And so this zero gravity, like pressurized, stuff that they talk about, it doesn't make sense if they're telling us that that space and the universe is like it would have to be an open system, right? And so like these doesn't make sense. And so even with our own world, like this has to be some kind of a contained environment, because like lighter elements and things like that, they get pushed up, and then anything that's heavier or denser gets pulled down, and it has to do with like the gases and the liquids and solids and stuff like that, and so obvious things to look at once you actually consider these things. Like I can go on too about like the rockets and how like Elon Musk is part of this like group of people that are misleading us and taking all of our money when it could be used on the philanthropy stuff that he that he like pretends that he's like interested in. Like there's so many things that we could do to help our people with free energy or better energy and like better quality of life, and we just don't do it. A lot of pilots will come out now more and more and say that at the very least they've never seen a curvature. They don't, and that anytime they do navigation, it's all based on a flat plane, and that like even they question why they can't go south. From Antarctica, like based on like traveling from like Australia to Chile, for example, and different flight paths like to China and stuff like that, like they don't make sense, and these excuses that it's because like government, whatever is controlling it. Yes, that's true, but it's also because they're controlling those areas because they're hiding those secrets, right? That the Earth is a geocentric, or whatever you want to call it, model, and it's certainly not a heliocentric model. and the sun and the moon are possibly up in the middle of the world somewhere. I don't know what kind of a shape they are. Maybe they're like some kind of like a crystal prism or pyramid or whatever. Maybe not. That would make sense to me. And then like reflecting whatever it is, they're reflecting into the onto the this dome or firmament, and projecting what we see as the sun and the moon above, and some kind of like a black sun or whatever you want to call it. That's also somewhere in the in this simulation, but out of view from us. And when you look at eclipses, it makes more sense that that is what is doing the obstruction, and not the Earth. It makes no sense. Not the sun, not the moon. Anyway, and so yeah, really interesting. Yeah, so like clouds are spinning with the world, with the Earth, you know what I mean? Like apparently, like all in unison somehow, but like they also move on their own, like with like minor wind, and we are impacted by like 50 miles per hour winds, but like not like this huge ass speed we're spinning at, because it like balances it out. Like the more you look at these things and question it, and then look at the science behind it, you'll see that science is just another religion. And it's faith-based, because the theory of gravity, the theory of relativity, the Big Bang theory, the theory of evolution, these are all lies, misleading, and we are a lot more I don't know, like not perfect in our design. We're a lot more advanced, or like in our design, and we're a lot more important or special, I guess, and what we're being led to believe. And the reason why we're not being told the truth, again, like I keep going to this, is because it's because of the power and ego and the ability to exploit us, because of these like reset events that happen every 138 years in certain areas, and how they exploit and monopolize on those events, and don't let us know until it's too late that these things happen. Yeah, amazing. Let me see here. Yeah, the whole traveling east to west and west to east thing doesn't make sense. Let me see here. Moonlight is cold. So any tests that have been done for temperatures, when you look directly into the moonlight, the temperature gets colder, and then when you get beyond the moonlight and go under shade of a tree or whatever, warmer. And then obviously it's vice versa for the sun. When you go in shade, you get cooler, and then when you're out in the sun, it's hotter. And there's a lot more like magnetism and electricity, self-illuminating components and healing properties to these things than we were being led to believe as well. And Pluto, the reason why they're not calling it a planet is because the luminary, it's lost its luminescence, or whatever you want to call it. And so anyway. Oh, and just like points on the pandemic, or whatever you want to call it. So there's 8 billion people in the world. 60 million people die a year from cardiovascular diseases that are likely also imposed on us by virtue of these controller elite types that are causing harm by virtue of like what they put in our water, what they put in the air, what they put in our food, what they put in our like, you know what I mean, on social media, the mainstream, what they say, what our governments push on us, education systems push on us, so many different reasons. Oh yeah, and then placebo effect as well, which is a huge for disease, and the leading cause of death in Canada and the U.S. and everywhere else is malpractice, is misdiagnosing things and human error, right? So let's look at that stuff. 1.6 million people die a year of diarrhea, and this number, I don't know how accurate this is, but 800,000 suicides a year. And that has increased significantly over this pandemic as well, which infuriates me. And about 100K for the pandemic. And so we have stopped literally everyone's life and caused so many worse issues and death and harm because of the common flu. Something that's a little bit that was a little bit more extreme than the common flu for some people. But we've shut down the world because of this. Okay, so this has nothing to do with health. I've been promoting working out and vitamin D and going outside and filtering water and filtering air and cleansing yourself from social media and getting out and trying to like mingle amongst the masses, and it's been impossible. And even with me, like I because of my vaccine status, because they're still under emergency use authorization, and the original trials that came out, they were terribly, they were improperly done, so debunked, and so much data that I can show you shows how ineffective these are and how alarming it is. And yeah, and so if we cared about people, we would do other things like to help with health and not what we've done. And I'm just going over notes. gives me Arctic. Sun and moon, same size. So yeah, sun and moon, same size because of the reflections. I don't know if like where they are, wherever they are, these like multi-dimensional or three-dimensional like objects or whatever are, but like I believe that those are at least reflections. Because even now, like the full moon is going to be on the 11th or the 10th, depending on where you're from, tomorrow or the next day. And like in Canada, like oftentimes it's hidden from view because of weather. And there is weather control systems out there, and they've admitted that as well. So I could put on a tinfoil hat if you want, but when our actual leaders are actually admitting these, and then I share the videos of them admitting these things, and like the whatever, and you still want to fight me on it, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Yeah, so like all ancient travel only makes sense on a flat plane. So like even like I wanted to talk about groups being reality tunnels, and about how being unpredictable can also help with this matrix or whatever it is that we're in. And so like if you identify with a certain group, right, whether it be like a religion or or organization, institution, political party, sexual preference, whatever, career, once you identify with something, that puts you in a reality tunnel. And this is what someone that Archaics, I would highly recommend you watch his videos as well on YouTube before they get taken down. But yes, these reality tunnels is like once you identify with something, or you or something matters to you so much that you're not able to see beyond it, and if that was taken away from you, like you just wouldn't be able to exist, you know what I mean, in this reality, then there's something wrong with that too, right? And so because like things like because like nothing is for sure, right? And so even with different religions, like once there's more information that comes out that may or may not make them question their religions, then often it gets really intense, right? And the same thing for like even science, like me discussing what I just discussed, right? Like about gravity and about magnetism, about electricity, about the water, about flat Earth versus globe Earth versus curvatures versus so many things I can explain. Yeah, I don't know. If I was to stop at like at what political party my family wanted me to vote with, and follow the same religion they wanted me to follow, then I would be very predictable. And then if I was to go down like the same occupational path as my family, then I'm just making this world, this reality, very predictable, right? And so like I'm just part of the system, like I'm just a cog in the wheel. But if I make myself unpredictable, then I'm becoming an errant or an anomaly or someone that's unpredictable. And so I'm an error in the code, okay? And so what they do is, instead of like trying to fix me or whatever, they just let me go, right? Because there's no way that I'm going to be able to go back in this reality where I'm believing that the world is what they've told me it is, right? Like I already see it a different way and I can't unsee it. And it makes a lot more sense to me than what I've been led to believe, like even growing up, right? Because I've watched all the Discovery History Channel stuff. I've read all the books and I've done my own research and explorations and stuff like that too. And I've questioned a lot of things, and a lot of things never really made sense to me, and it was just like pushed away, right? It was just something that like if I get close to questioning things, I'd either have like bully teachers or bully people just like, no, stop thinking for yourself. Yeah, even with like Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy, right? Like they intentionally design these or create these beings, these characters, so that we can believe in something at a very young age, like when we're very, very malleable, and then again all these other misleading facts about the world during a time that, again, like where our brain is neurologically, like our neurons, I guess, they're developing at an alarming rate between the ages of 3 and 6 years old, the average being around 5. Where even languages, like you can learn them faster, you can learn things faster. Anyway, and so during that time, and then when you realize that Santa Claus isn't real, Tooth Fairy's not real, it's around that age, right? Or like maybe like a few years older than that, like maybe between the ages of like 7 and 11, where you can have like a little bit more of an understanding, but you still don't see things beyond like your own ego and ID, like within your own self. But anyway, I could go on tangents, but so being unpredictable. So like someone like me, for example, like I didn't just stick with being in the military, even though I was being groomed for high-ranking positions and more, like niche, groups and stuff like that, and I just wasn't able to, no matter how much I was trying to like make the system better, I was not able to. And so once you realize that when you're inside, you're not able to effectively make the change. I literally left everything because I wasn't able to support what I couldn't support that system anymore. And since then, I have been on this mission to try and to shed a lot of awareness on things that I've questioned and seen for myself that are harming all of us, and that can be mitigated just by being truthful and being able to like clearly articulate myself and put myself out there on YouTube videos and stuff like that, and see if possibly people want to listen and maybe speak to truth to people like Joe Rogan or Russell Brand or Lex Fridman and these people that think that they're going to get deplatformed if and when they start talking about this stuff. But you're being a bit of a sellout, because if you're getting rich and famous on not touching on the topics that actually make the changes that you want to make or want to see, then you're just part of one of the role players, and that's frustrating, right? And this is why, like, even with like Naked and Afraid, I could have stayed longer. They offered me to be like set up in hotels and accommodations, and then just like do whatever they wanted me to do regarding scenes, and then there was no way I was gonna lie to people. There's no way. And so instead of doing that and having a nice vacation and then looking like a hero, on an international field, I didn't want to lie to people, right? And so Buzz Aldrin, like I'm looking at you and Chris Hadfield, and I've been in your situation, and I didn't sell out. And you know how much hate I've gotten and how many threats I've gotten? And yeah, and like clearly, like they're not gonna hire again. And I don't. And anyways, this is like not the point of this is not to be upsetting or think that I'm a drama person or oh, look at me, feel sorry for me. I got passionate about this stuff, and so I don't understand sellouts. And because like even like with the whole family stuff too, like I've sacrificed so much of my life to be of service, and people I'm trying to justify other people's behavior, and I'm trying to justify their actions, and I'm struggling because like I've been tempted by men, you know what I mean, when I was in relationships, and even now, and it's been well over a year or two since I've dated, because there's trauma there too, right? and yeah, and the list goes on, but like I just don't think that being a sellout is the way ahead. Like even with Naked and Afraid Extra Large, that they were going to like redo the whole like insert and stuff like that, and not have Seth come in and I was just like, no, it's too late. And first of all, why did you hire him? And look at his tattoos, look at his social media. And I even asked them, they looked at his original video, the unedited ones, and they didn't. And I'm just like, you know what, this is why like things happen the way they do, and no one's gonna see that footage that they have. If anyone wants to take this information, if they haven't deleted like any of the footage from like what I was saying, then they would have it. But they were going to give us, yeah, and I'm just like, I'm not a sellout. I'm not going to lie to people on international television just to look famous or just to look important for like a short amount of time, and then regret my actions for the rest of my life, right? Like that's not how I was raised. I'm sorry. And I'm not just saying that to make excuses for my failures or anything like that at all. Like I'm giving you the truth. Take with it what you want. Take from it what you want. And it's through my failures that I've been able to get to a point where like I don't know, I'm in a position where I can and want to risk my life, even with what I'm saying now, with all of this like government stuff and like these plans and like in different areas, and talking about like free energy and like and how we're hiding our ancient history and stuff like that. Like this stuff gets people killed all over the world. And sometimes I sleep with a gun, and I'm not gonna lie. And in Canada, where like people are trying to say that we can't defend ourselves, and I say to people, if you believe that, you're not a sucker, but like you are controlled. Because like how dare people say that I don't have a right to defend myself in any situation if my life is at risk, especially if I'm only putting my life at risk to be of service to others. Like, it makes no sense to me. And so on that note, can I say, people wanted to know a little bit more about me and my background, and so like that's why I'm just starting to say more, because I guess it matters to people. but even with educational systems too, like, and I have education and courses from like multiple different universities, prestigious ones, RMC, West Point, Carleton University, Ottawa University. It's hard for me to get fully qualified in certain courses and stuff like that, because I don't believe what they say, right? And so even when I was at West Point, I remember this one major Frey or whatever, I was talking about like, was it war history, was military history, and he hated me because there was one project I had to do with this group, and it was on Manifest Destiny or whatever it was, and I was like, oh my god, how they were being taught it was not the way I was taught it or what I believed, and so I was getting so confused, and so I literally had to like read off paper, and you're not supposed to do that, right? And like even when I teach courses and stuff like that or do PowerPoints, like I don't talk from a sheet of paper. Like as you can see, I'm doing YouTube, like I barely have any notes. But if I'm talking about something that I don't believe in, and and the dates are wrong, and the periods are wrong, and the events are wrong, it's like I have no choice but to read off paper. So I totally didn't mean to blade like the people that I was working with on that project, because they probably got a low mark because of me or a lower mark because of me. But like I'm in an institution where there's like a lot of false information, and like even when I was looking at the front of the textbooks, like what was being written about about the creators of the people that wrote the books and stuff like that too, it was like all like brainwashing, and I'm just like, where am I? And it was a great place. I'm not taking away from it. Very, very smart people obviously go there. And amazing people, but then there's a few select people that are chosen or groomed to be in positions in the world, and especially in the US, where it's designed to profit, like they're the controllers of the elite, and not the people that they're even serving or think they're serving, or at home or abroad. And it's a shame, but it is what it is. And I think on in Ancient Structures, West Point, and RMC, I went to both areas. RMC, that's where I got my degree from, and I did an exchange at West Point in my 4th year because I was selected as one of 2 people to go. And then even when I was at RMC, like I top athlete many years, like Wing Harrier events, races, first place, obstacle course teams, academic top academic award when I was at CMR as well. And so not dumb. I was fluently bilingual. I held many military occupations. Even when I was in my second year, I was part of headquarters for a position that they made specifically for me. And so then when I was in 3rd year, I was FIUP, first year orientation program staff. That's always a 4th year position. And then when I was in 4th year, I went on an exchange, and then I was the cadet flight leader or squadron leader of my squadron. 6th Squadron, and then that was the squadron that didn't have an official officer captain in my 4th year. So I actually was the one that was essentially like doing a lot of the administration, the coordination, the planning, and everything, right? And so and then I was like the first female infantry officer in the history of the PPCLI, fully qualified, whatever you want to call it, and deployed in combat capacities and travel the world. I don't know. Anyway, that's a little bit about me, and just to give some credibility to what I say. And on that note, it's raining again today, yeah, so I don't get to take the dogs out as much when it's raining. So anyway, on that note, I hope that everyone has a wonderful day.